Welcome, learners, to another deep dive. Today we're really embarking on something a bit different. We're diving into the heart of conscious living,
That's right.
and we're using Eckhart Tolle's magnum opus transcript as our guide. It's packed with insights.
It really is. Profound stuff.
So our mission, really, is to pull out those key nuggets about conscious transformation, things that can genuinely help you navigate, well, life with a bit more ease, maybe more understanding.
Yeah, maybe find that inner peace we hear about.
Exactly. Inner peace.
And it's not just about theory, is it? It's about actually experiencing something deeper. What's amazing, I think, is the author's own story.
Oh, yeah. Tell us a bit about that.
Well, he talks about this virtually overnight transformation he had. Early 20s.
Overnight, really?
Pretty much. He'd apparently suffered from years of really bad anxiety, depression, and then suddenly this shift. Profound peace.
Wow. That's incredible.
It is, and it changed everything for him. He was actually about to get a research scholarship at Cambridge, I believe.
No way.
Yeah. But this internal change was so radical, it set him on a completely different path. So what we're exploring today is how you can tap into that same kind of inner peace, that presence.
Without needing a massive crisis first, hopefully.
Right, exactly. It's about recognizing something that's actually already within you. It's accessible right now.
Okay, that's a powerful idea to start with, that we don't have to wait. But, if it's already here, why does it feel so distant for so many of us? We seem caught up in our heads all the time.
That's the crux of it, isn't it?
Yeah. So let's start there. Let's unpack what the sources call the mind's labyrinth, how our thoughts kind of build our reality, maybe a reality that isn't always great.
Yeah, the mind's labyrinth is a good way to put it.
Yeah.
One of the core ideas here is that most of us, completely unconsciously, are living inside a work of fiction.
A work of fiction, meaning?
Meaning a story our mind creates. It's not deliberate, it's just this ingrained pattern. It shows up as the little me.
The little me. I've heard that term.
Right. It's this continuous voice in the head, this narrative. It's constantly talking about the past, what happened, what someone said, or worrying about the future, what might go wrong, what we need to achieve.
And building this sort of identity around that story.
Exactly. An identity built on thoughts and memories. And the thing is, this story, this little me, is almost always unsatisfactory.
Why unsatisfactory?
Because it's always seeking. It's
Yeah.
always looking for something more outside itself. The next success, the perfect relationship, even just getting through this moment to get to the next one. But it never finds lasting satisfaction there.
Right, it's like a treadmill, always chasing something just out of reach.
That's a great analogy. It's a mental treadmill, and the goalpost keeps moving.
That really resonates. You find yourself replaying conversations from yesterday or planning out exactly what you'll say tomorrow. You're almost never just here.
Precisely. The mind, when it's running the show like that, it reduces the now to a means to getting to the next moment.
So the present just becomes a stepping stone.
Exactly. Or an obstacle.
Yeah.
Something to get through.
Yeah.
Hey, think about how often we're lost in mental projections. Planning dinner, right? And the mind goes, will the food be ready? What if I burn it?
Oh, yeah. Or booking a holiday and worrying, will the hotel be okay?
Right.
Will I lose my luggage?
What if a plane crash, even when you're sitting safely at home?
Right.
We're consumed by these future possibilities, these mental scenarios, and we completely miss the only time that's actually real, which is right now.
Yeah.
There's this line from A Course in Miracles that captures it perfectly. Seek, but do not find.
Seek but do not find.
Yeah. It highlights how this constant mental reaching, the seeking in the future or in external things, leaves us feeling restless, fundamentally discontent. Because fulfillment isn't out there somewhere.
It can only be found now.
Exactly. And this isn't, just a personal quirk. It's described as part of the human condition, this pattern of creating a fictitious self that's always uneasy, always needing the next thing to feel okay. So, this fictitious self, this little me, is busy creating its story inside our heads. It makes sense then that this wouldn't just affect how we see ourselves, it must impact how we see, everything else, especially other people.
Oh, absolutely.
The sources talk about something called a dreadful concept, other. That sounds pretty intense. What's that about?
It's incredibly important, actually. It takes us right into the heart of how we relate to each other, or often how we misrelate.
Okay.
This dreadful concept, other, happens when our mind does the same thing to other people as it does to situations. It reduces them to concepts, labels, opinions, mental interpretations.
So instead of seeing a person, we see our idea of them.
Precisely. And think about what happens when we do that. We reduce a whole complex human being down to just mental concepts and opinions.
Yeah, it limits them massively.
It does. The text actually calls this process where we mistake unconsciousness for a person. It defines that as judgment.
Judgment, okay.
So you meet someone, right? And instead of being open to who they are in this moment, your mind immediately slaps on labels based on their past, your opinions, maybe societal categories.
Like, oh, he's that type, or she always does this.
Exactly. He's a conservative, she's always complaining, they're lazy, that person's difficult. You're not actually interacting with the being in front of you anymore.
You're interacting with your own mental construct.
Your concept, yes.
Yeah.
And the most extreme, chilling example the source gives is the terrorist.
Right, you mentioned that connection earlier.
Yeah. Someone who can kill without feeling anything. Why?
Yeah.
Because in their head, they've reduced the other person to a label: infidel, enemy, whatever it is.
The label strips away their humanity.
Completely. It makes the unthinkable possible because empathy is gone. Now, thankfully, most of us don't operate at that extreme,
Hopefully not.
but the source makes the point that the same principle really operates in human interaction all the time, just in subtler ways. We all carry around these conceptual mental entities of the people in our lives. Our partner, our boss, our kids. It's like we see them through this thick filter of past experiences and future expectations.
And we react to the filter, not the person.
Often, yes. And this identification with our own thought forms our personal stories, our beliefs, even collective ideologies. It actually needs the other to define itself through.
Needs the other. How?
The ego, this mind-made self, often defines itself by comparison or opposition. It needs conflict or criticism, or even just having an enemy out there to feel more solid, more real, stronger.
So it creates separation to feel distinct.
Exactly. It's constantly comparing. Better than, worse than, right, wrong. It's all about reinforcing that fragile mind-made identity. And this whole process, this internal chatter and categorizing, it keeps us stuck on the surface of your being.
Just skimming the surface, never going deeper.
Right. Always searching for this enhanced sense of self that external things or putting others down can never actually deliver in a lasting way. It really damages our ability to connect authentically.
Wow. It's quite sobering to think how automatic that labeling process can be, how it builds walls.
It is. And it leads us right into another really powerful concept from the source material, which helps explain a lot of the suffering that comes from this mind-dominated state.
Okay.
It's called the pain body.
The pain body. That sounds heavy, like emotional baggage.
It is heavy, and yes, you could think of it like that, but it's more dynamic than just baggage. It's described as an accumulation of energy of past pain that lives inside us.
Energy, not just memory.
Right. It's more like a field of energy. Think of unresolved emotional suffering, sadness, anger, grief, fear that hasn't been fully processed and released. It clumps together, forming this entity.
An entity, like it has a life of its own.
Almost. It's described as semi-autonomous. It lies dormant sometimes, but then gets activated. And here's the really crucial part. It feeds on more pain.
It feeds on pain. How does that work?
When it gets activated, maybe by a thought or something, someone says, it will control your thinking. Your thoughts actually start to align with the pain body's energy. They become destructive and painful.
Still hijacks your thoughts.
Completely. It literally gobbles up the energy of every thought that you think, every destructive and deeply negative thought. It wants you to think angry thoughts or self-pitying thoughts or victim thoughts because that generates the very energy it feeds on.
Wow, that's quite insidious. A self-perpetuating cycle.
Exactly. You might notice it when you have a really out of proportion reaction of pain to something small.
Yeah, like getting furious over spilling coffee or spiraling into despair because someone didn't call back right away.
Precisely. That's often the pain body just looking for an excuse to wake up and feed. It grabs onto any trigger it can find.
And you mentioned it's not just individual.
No, that's another fascinating aspect. There's also a collective pain body. Think of the energetic residue of historical trauma wars, oppression, tragedies.
Right.
The sources suggest that someone who's sensitive might actually feel this when they travel to certain places. Stepping off a plane in, say, parts of Eastern Europe or Germany or Russia, places with heavy histories, you might sense this energy field of the collective pain body, a kind of palpable heaviness.
That's intense.
It is. But the key takeaway here is that the pain body, whether individual or collective, is never a personal problem of yours. It's not your fault. It's described as part of the human condition.
We all have it to some degree.
Yes, we inherit it, we accumulate it, and it will try to express itself unless we bring conscious awareness to it.
So recognizing its patterns is important, like knowing your specific flavor of pain body.
That's incredibly helpful, yes.
Yes.
Is yours mostly anger, self-pity, fear? Does it show up as withdrawal or attack? Knowing its specific flavor, its signature thoughts and feelings helps you catch it earlier.
Before it takes over completely.
Exactly. Before you become identified with it and it runs the whole show.
Okay, this pain body sounds like a really powerful force. Almost like an inner demon, constantly seeking negativity. If it's so pervasive and so clever at feeding itself, how on earth do we deal with it? It feels like it could just overwhelm you.
It definitely can feel overwhelming. And that's the core challenge, isn't it? But here's the paradox and the hope. The pain body, once you learn to recognize it, once you meet it with presence, it can actually become an incredible teacher.
A teacher? How can accumulated pain be a teacher?
Because its very arising becomes a signal. It's a call for awareness. Instead of just being an obstacle, it becomes a doorway into deeper presence. The sources even make an interesting observation about this.
Oh yeah.
They note that women are going, there's always more women coming to consciousness groups than men.
I've noticed that trend sometimes.
And the suggestion is that women will move forward more quickly now than men, partially because they might be better positioned to work with their pain bodies. What used to seem like a huge obstacle, perhaps being more readily in touch with emotional energy, now becomes a great help as you bring the presence to it.
Interesting. So maybe being more attuned emotionally provides a more direct pathway to recognizing and working with it.
That seems to be the implication. Whereas for men, who are often, as the source puts it, more deeply entrenched in their mind structures, it might be a different kind of challenge. Perhaps less direct access to feeling the energy, more tendency to analyze it away.
Okay, so the path isn't about fighting it then.
Absolutely not. Fighting it, resisting it, judging it, trying to push it away, that just feeds it more energy. It loves drama and conflict.
So what do we do?
The approach is to meet it with alertness, awareness, and acceptance. These qualities together are equated in the source material with unconditional love.
Unconditional love for the pain.
Yes, but not love in the usual sentimental sense. It's the love that is the spaciousness of consciousness itself. It's a non-judgmental allowing. You simply allow the feeling, the energy, to be there without needing to immediately fix it, understand it, or push it away.
Just feel it.
Feel the raw energy of it. If you can catch it before it becomes a thought, catch it purely on an energetic level. That tightness in the chest, the heat rising, you can prevent it from taking over your mind.
Stop it before it generates those negative thoughts that feed it.
Exactly. You cut off its food supply, in a sense. And interestingly, some pain bodies, the ones with enormous heaviness and density, might actually be easier to catch.
Easier? Why?
Because they often arise more slowly. They don't just flash up instantly. There's a buildup, which gives you a slightly bigger window to notice it and bring your awareness, your presence to it.
That makes sense. And you mentioned partners can help each other.
Yes, that's a really practical application. If you know your partner's pain body patterns, the telltale signs, the shift in their energy, the specific complaints, you can gently point it out. Not judgmentally, but just observing, feels like the pain body might be active right now.
Which could help them bring awareness to it instead of just reacting from it.
Exactly. It gives them an advantage, a chance to become conscious, rather than both of you getting sucked into the usual drama. And when you do this, when you truly surrender to the feeling, allow it fully without resistance, something amazing happens.
What's that?
It transforms. The Force says that accepting it completely reveals such an intense depth of peace and aliveness. The dense energy dissolves back into the spaciousness of presence. It's like alchemy.
Wow. Turning lead into gold, essentially. Turning pain into peace.
That's the potential, yes. The pain body becomes fuel for consciousness.
That's a really powerful reframe. So it really all comes back to presence, doesn't it? Whether it's seeing through the mind's stories or transforming the pain body, presence seems to be the master key.
It absolutely is.
But, saying be present is one thing. Actually doing it, especially when the mind is racing or the pain body is flaring up, that's the challenge. How do we cultivate it? How do we make it real in our day-to-day lives beyond just, understanding the idea? What are the practical steps?
That's the million-dollar question, right? And thankfully, the teachings are very practical here. One of the most direct, simple, and always available methods is conscious breathing.
Just breathe it.
Conscious breathing. It sounds almost too simple, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But it's incredibly powerful. It means putting your full attention on the sensation of the breath.
How so?
Just noticing how the air flows into your body and out of your body. Feel the air coming in, maybe cool, filling your lungs, your belly rising slightly. Feel it flowing out, maybe warmer, your belly falling. No need to change it, just observe.
And what does that do?
Crucially, it takes attention away from thinking. For those moments you're focused on the breath, you're not fueling the mental chatter, even if it's just for 10 seconds.
10 seconds doesn't sound like much.
But in those 10 seconds, you create a little gap in the stream of mind. And in that gap, you can sense the inner stillness that's always there underneath the noise. You're essentially hitting pause on the mental commentary.
Like a mini reset button.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's not about stopping thoughts forever, which is usually impossible anyway. It's about creating these micro pauses. Each pause builds your capacity to return to presence, breaks the momentum of anxious or negative thinking. Neuroscientists are even confirming this now, how it affects the nervous system.
Okay, conscious breathing, that's one tool. What else?
Another really potent practice is inner body awareness.
Inner body awareness. What does that mean exactly? Feeling your organs.
Not quite like that.
Yeah.
It's more about sensing the life energy within the body. The source suggests starting with your hands. Can you feel a subtle tingling, a vibrating aliveness in your hands right now without looking at them?
Let me try. Yeah, actually, a faint buzzing, maybe.
Yes, that's it. Then see if you can extend that awareness to other parts of the body too. Your feet, your arms, your legs. Eventually feeling the whole body as this field of aliveness.
Okay.
It's described as a very pleasant way of becoming rooted more deeply within the being that you are. It's also incredibly effective at anchoring in the present moment.
How does it anchor you?
Because while your mind can wander anywhere past, future, fantasy, your inner body is always here, always now. Focusing attention there pulls you out of your head and into the present reality.
That makes sense. It's very direct.
Very. And it's particularly useful if you feel an illness coming on. Instead of just worrying about it, the advice is to go more deeply into the body, bring that awareness, that light of presence to the area feeling discomfort.
And that can help?
It can often alleviate symptoms or even dissolve the illness in its early stages, simply by bringing conscious energy to it instead of resistance. It's about fully inhabiting your physical form.
I like that phrase, turning up the light of presence. It feels active. So we have conscious breathing, inner body awareness, using the body as a doorway. What about the world outside? Our minds are constantly layering interpretations onto everything we see and hear, right? Building that conceptual reality. Can we use our senses differently?
Yes, absolutely. The sources talk about finding exits from the conditioned mind stream through our sense perceptions.
Exits, like escape routes from thinking.
Kind of, yeah. The key is shifting from thinking about what you perceive to directly experiencing it. So instead of immediately slapping labels or mental interpretations onto everything.
Like, that's a pretty flower, or that noise is annoying.
Exactly. Instead, you practice direct seeing and direct listening. To see the flower, its color, its form, without the commentary. Just hear the sound, allow the vibration into your awareness without judging it.
Pure perception.
Pure perception. The source suggests watching an animal in stillness. A cat focused on a bird, maybe? The animal is just being. It's an expression of the one in form, largely free of that conceptual me that runs our lives. There's no little voice in the cat's head saying, I am now stalking this bird effectively.
Right.
The doing just happens.
Right. It's just pure focus.
Exactly. And by observing that, or by practicing direct perception ourselves, we step out of the stream of thinking, even briefly. It brings incredible depth to experience.
Like seeing the world fresh again.
Yes. The example of Tai Chi is used too. To be a master at Tai Chi, you have to be there at every stage of the movement. It's not doing one part just to get to the next.
Yeah.
Each moment, each micro movement is complete in itself.
Not reducing it to a means to an end.
Precisely. And this applies everywhere. Listening to rain isn't just about water. It can be about sensing this space that is inseparable from you in which this happens. The awareness holding the sound. It's letting reality reveal itself rather than imposing our mental grid onto it.
That shift from analyzing to just observing feels huge. It seems like it could transform even the most ordinary, mundane moments if we approach them that way.
That's exactly where this practice gets integrated into the fabric of everyday life. It makes presence accessible anytime, anywhere.
So not just for meditation cushions.
Not at all. The sources really emphasize taking clear awareness into little doings. Start small, very short doings.
Like what?
Like opening a door. You open a door to go through, you walk through, and you close the door behind you. Can you be so present that you're totally there in those movements? Feel the handle, the weight of the door, the motion.
Instead of just rushing through, thinking about where you're going next.
Exactly. Or putting on your shoes, pouring a drink, washing your hands. Can you bring your full attention to the physical sensations just for those few seconds?
The mind usually dismisses that stuff as not important enough, right?
Totally. The mind wants the big drama, the important thoughts, the future plans. It wants to be somewhere else. But by deliberately bringing full attention to peeling a banana or getting into the car and driving, you interrupt that pattern.
You stop using the present as just a stepping stone.
Yes. You stop treating everything as a means towards getting away from now. When the mind runs things, almost every action is just about getting it done to move on. But when you bring presence, even to peeling a banana, that action is no longer just a means to an end. It is the end. It's a moment of being fully alive.
It brings a different quality to it.
A huge qualitative difference, yes. You feel it. It's not necessarily about being slower, just more aware, more deliberate. Life becomes richer, less of a frantic rush.
So these little doings are like mini meditations woven through the day. That feels really achievable.
It is.
But thinking about meditation, many people do associate presence with more formal practice. Sitting silently, going on retreats. How does that fit in? Is it necessary or just another option?
That's a really common question. And the perspective here is that, yes, all meditation methods ultimately take you to that, to presence, to inner stillness. They're definitely valid tools.
It sounds like a but coming.
There's a caution.
Yeah.
Beware of the meditator who is trying to get somewhere with his meditation.
Ah, the mind turning meditation into another goal.
Exactly. Become good at it. In the future, the ego is sneaky. It can co-opt even spiritual practices for its own agenda, its own story of progress and achievement. I'm becoming a better meditator. It becomes another form of seeking.
Seeking enlightenment in the future rather than finding presence now.
Precisely. So true natural meditation isn't really about the technique itself. It's simply the state of fullness of being that arises naturally from inner stillness. It's beyond any meditation techniques.
So it's more about being meditative than doing meditation.
That's a great way to put it. The sources say if you can sense the pure consciousness itself, that underlying stillness, perhaps between words in a conversation or just sitting quietly, then formal methods become less critical. If you could just sit in that stillness for hours, that would be perfectly fine. That is the state.
So techniques are scaffolds maybe, but not the building itself.
Good analogy. And outer silence, especially being in nature, can be a wonderful teacher. It helps quiet the mind naturally, away from constant human chatter and stimulation.
It makes it easier to hear the inner stillness.
Yes, but the real aim is to cultivate that inner silence so deeply that it's accessible wherever you go. Even in the middle of a city, noisy city street, you carry the stillness within you.
You become the anchor.
You recognize yourself as the anchor, yes.
Yeah.
So formal meditation, very helpful for many, a great way to train the attention muscle, but not the only way. And not the end goal in itself. The goal is lived presence.
This whole deep dive is really highlighting how much our usual sense of self is tied up with, well, thoughts, stories, external things, our bodies even.
It really is.
And the sources talk about this major shift, this disidentification from form. That sounds huge, like letting go of who you think you are. It even mentions a psychological death.
Yes, those are key concepts.
But honestly, for a lot of people, the idea of losing their sense of self, even just a mental story, sounds terrifying, like becoming nothing, a void. How do we square that fear with the promise of liberation?
That's a very natural and important point. It taps right into the ego's deepest fear. Its own non-existence, its dissolution.
Right, fear of annihilation.
Exactly. But what disidentification from form actually means isn't the destruction of you. It's the realization that your true identity isn't the psychological me, that constantly chattering image forms in the head, me, I.
The storyteller.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or even just your physical body.
Yeah.
That whole story, which the source calls an intrinsic part of the image of me, is ultimately seen as that work of fiction we talked about earlier.
The one we unconsciously live inside.
Right. So when that story, that deeply entrenched mental image of me has become shaky, when you reach a point where you might genuinely say, I don't know who I am anymore, that's actually described as wonderful.
Wonderful. It sounds destabilizing.
It is destabilizing to the ego, but it's wonderful because you're starting to see through its unreality. You're recognizing that the identity you clung to was mind-made, constructed. It's the dawn of real self-discovery. And this seeing through leads to what's called a psychological death. It's not physical death, obviously. It's the death of who you thought you were. The belief system that says, this story, this body, this history, this is me. That limited conceptual me goes.
And what's left?
That death is an opening into life. It's described as the most gentle and most beautiful death that could happen to you spiritually. Because when that dense, contracted sense of a separate self dissolves, something vast opens up. You realize the unmanifested one life that you are.
The unmanifested one life, like the potential behind everything.
Exactly. Think of it like this. The sky is vast, open, unmanifested potential. Clouds drift through it. They are forms, unique, temporary. Your psychological me is like a cloud.
Okay.
Disidentification isn't destroying the cloud. It's realizing you are the sky, the boundless space that allows all clouds to exist, but isn't limited to being just one cloud. You recognize yourself as the underlying awareness, the canvas, not just the painting.
So you don't lose your uniqueness, but you're not defined by it.
Precisely. You realize your true nature is that formless, intelligent spaciousness. You stop looking for yourself in thoughts, and in that stopping, you find this blissful, joyous awareness that is you. It's not emptiness as in nothing. It's emptiness as in nothingness, pure potential, freedom.
That shift from seeing yourself as the cloud to knowing yourself as the sky. That's a powerful image. It reframes it completely from loss to liberation, like taking off a heavy, tight coat.
That's a good way to feel it.
So how does this shedding of the old identity, this psychological death, connect back to our everyday struggles, dealing with difficult situations, things not going our way, that constant search for happiness out there?
It connects directly. This disidentification naturally blossoms into living in surrender.
Surrender, that can sound passive, like giving up.
It's often misunderstood that way, but here it means a complete openness to whatever is here, allowing this moment to be exactly as it is, without internal resistance, without needing it to be different for you to be okay.
Accepting what is.
Yes. Not necessarily liking it, but accepting its reality in this moment. The source points to Stephen Hawking as an extraordinary example. Through deep acceptance of his severe physical limitations, he went beyond the limitations of that form.
He didn't let the form define his potential.
Exactly. He found freedom and power within, despite the extreme challenges without. And this surrender brings immense liberation, because you no longer demand the world should make you happy.
Dropping that huge expectation.
Yes, that constant, exhausting search for ultimate fulfillment in circumstances, situations, places, or people. You see it as futile. You realize that nothing external can ever truly complete you or give you lasting identity. Satisfaction might come in brief moments, but not the deep peace you truly seek.
Because you realize.
You realize you are already complete, already whole, already a full expression of the one life on the level of being. So you renounce the psychological need for the future to make you whole.
You still plan things, presumably? You still act in the world?
Oh, absolutely. Practical planning happens. Action happens. But you're not doing it with the underlying desperate need for the outcome to validate you or make you happy. Your sense of okayness isn't dependent on it anymore.
That takes so much pressure off.
Immense pressure. And paradoxically, when you stop fighting reality, when you stop demanding happiness from the world, life often starts to flow more easily. The world is there to frustrate you, in a sense.
To frustrate us, why?
To push you out of identification with form. The inherent unsatisfactory nature of chasing external fulfillment is life's way of nudging you deeper, saying, look within. When you finally stop fighting what is, life tends to become more supportive and helpful because you're not fighting life anymore. You align with the flow.
It's like the world's resistance is actually a pointer, a teacher, guiding us back inside. That's fascinating.
It's a profound perspective shift.
So, if this state of presence, surrender, disidentification, if it's so liberating, can we just choose it? Can we actively decide, okay, I choose the state free of suffering? It sounds almost too simple, like flipping a switch for enlightenment.
It does sound simple, and that's where the paradox comes in again. The sources say, yes, you can choose to live in the state that is free of suffering. On one level, it feels like a conscious choice, an act of will.
Right.
But as the source points out, very often, the truth, the deepest truth, can only be expressed through paradox. Well, it looks like you are choosing. From a deeper perspective, it's more like presence has chosen you.
Presence has chosen you. How does that work?
It means the awakening, the stirring of this deeper consciousness is already happening within you. The very fact that you can even understand this possibility, that you resonate with the idea of choosing presence, is a sign that your level of consciousness, the new consciousness, is sufficiently emerged already for you to understand what I mean.
So the ability to choose is actually a sign that the shift is already underway.
Exactly. If the awareness wasn't already dawning, the whole concept would likely seem nonsensical or irrelevant. This understanding marks a transition period.
A transition to what?
To a state where thought loses its capacity to make you unhappy. Thoughts still come and go, the mind still functions, but you're no longer enslaved by them. You don't automatically believe every judgment or fear that pops into your head. You don't derive your core sense of self from that mental stream anymore.
You see it as just thoughts, not me.
Right. And you begin to realize there is great intelligence beyond thought, a vast, intuitive, creative intelligence that is life itself operating through you when the mental noise subsides. You're no longer totally in the judgments of your mind anymore, about yourself, about your life.
You can access the kingdom of heaven now, so to speak.
Yes, that's the analogy used. You can choose it now, through acceptance and presence, rather than being potentially dragged into it kicking and screaming by intense suffering later on. It's choosing complete openness. In that openness, unhappiness has nowhere to cling to anymore, because it needs that tight, mentally made sense of self to survive.
It needs resistance.
It needs resistance and identification. Presence dissolves both. It's the ultimate freedom.
This journey from individual suffering to this kind of inner freedom is incredibly profound. But, you know, we don't exist in a vacuum. Our lives are filled with interactions, relationships. How does all this inner work, cultivating presence, disidentifying from the ego, actually change how we relate to other people? It feels like it must shift things dramatically.
Absolutely dramatically. It brings an enormous qualitative difference in your relationships when there is space.
Space? What kind of space?
Inner space. When you're not totally consumed by your own little me, your own needs, defenses, judgments, you create space within yourself. And that spaciousness naturally extends to how you perceive and interact with others.
Okay, how does that play out?
Well, for one thing, the understanding of forgiveness changes radically. The source suggests forgiveness is simply not mistaking that conditioning of the mind that operates for who that person is.
Wow. So forgiveness isn't about saying what they did was okay.
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
It's not about condoning harmful actions or pretending past hurts didn't happen. It's about seeing beyond the behavior, beyond the egoic patterns, the density, the unconsciousness that might be driving their actions.
Seeing that that isn't their true essence.
Exactly. Instead of reducing them back to those mental concepts and opinions, that dreadful concept other, which just feeds your own ego, you learn to witness their behavior, even difficult behavior, without immediate reactive judgment, without making it all about you.
That takes real presence, though, not getting triggered.
It absolutely does. You recognize that their anger, their fear, whatever it is, might be their pain body flaring up, their little me feeling threatened. It's often not a calculated personal attack, even if it feels that way. It's their own unconsciousness playing out.
So you don't take it so personally.
Ideally, yes. There's that line again from A Course in Miracles. Whoever you meet becomes a witness for either Christ or the ego.
Meaning,
every single interaction is a mirror. It shows you where you are. Either the interaction reflects back presence, your true nature, the Christ or Buddha nature within, or it triggers your egoic reactions, confirming your identification with the mind-made self.
so every person is an opportunity for practice.
Every single one. When you manage not to mistake their conditioned mind, their ego, for who they truly are, when you can hold that space of seeing beyond the form, that becomes part of your spiritual practice. You stop feeding their illusion and you stop reinforcing your own reactive patterns.
So break this cycle.
Break the cycle. It requires presence, especially with people who have, heavy mental, emotional energy fields, as the source puts it. It's easy to get pulled back in. But when you're anchored in your own formless nature, you can sense it in others too, beneath the surface personality. You realize you are ultimately not separate.
And that creates space for real connection, maybe, beyond just two egos interacting.
Exactly. Real connection becomes possible. Acceptance blooms in that space.
That's a huge shift for relationships.
Yeah.
So building on that, what about practicing this collectively? You mentioned partners helping each other. Does sitting together in groups, aiming for a shared sense of presence, actually amplify things? Can we create like a collective field?
The material strongly suggests yes.
Yeah.
It's truly helpful to sit with a group of people in a shared space of presence.
How does that work?
It can be informal. As you deepen your own presence, others around you will begin to wake up, just through resonance. One person embodying that spaciousness can genuinely affect the energy of a room or a group.
Like a tuning fork.
Good analogy.
Yeah.
Or it can be more formal, like dedicated groups. The key is cultivating shared stillness. Often this might start with some calming, inspiring music to help settle the mental activity, followed by a period of shared silence. Just being together in that quiet awareness, and then maybe listening to some teachings or sharing experiences, but doing so from that place of presence, not just launching into mental debates or egoic storytelling.
But there's a risk there, right? That it just becomes another talking shop.
Absolutely. That's the crucial caveat. It's vital that one or two people of the group are able to hold a space of presence. Someone needs to be anchored, embodying that stillness, so the group doesn't immediately get pulled back into being a mind-dominated group setting where everybody begins to talk, expressing their viewpoints, and suddenly presence is gone.
Someone needs to hold the energetic space.
Yes. Otherwise, it can quickly devolve. But when that space is held, the collective field can be very powerful, very supportive for everyone involved.
And this isn't just for adults. You mentioned children earlier.
Yes, that's a really hopeful sign mentioned in the sources. People working with children, teachers, therapists are starting to integrate these simple concepts. There are even books being written for kids.
And children get it.
Apparently, yes. Children can understand it quite readily, often more easily than adults, because their minds haven't become so rigidly conditioned yet. They haven't built up such a dense little me. Exposing them early can make a huge difference.
Wow.
It's seen as part of a larger shift, this collective awakening. Humanity might be reaching an evolutionary stage where the old egoic consciousness is just becoming too dysfunctional, too destructive. The suffering it creates is becoming unbearable.
So the collective madness is actually a catalyst.
Exactly. A catalyst for the emergence of this new consciousness, rooted in presence.
What a journey this deep dive has been. It really paints a clear picture. The path to a truly fulfilling life isn't out there in the future, in achievements or circumstances. It's right here, right now, in embracing the present moment.
That's the core message.
By understanding how the mind creates that fictitious self, how the pain body operates, we can actually choose to step out of that. We can choose presence.
This new consciousness.
Yeah. And it transforms everything, how we feel inside, how we relate to others, how we see the world, moving from that limited, anxious me to, well, the vastness of being itself.
And importantly, you're not trying to become someone different. You're not adding layers. You're realizing the fullness of life that's already inherent within you right now on the level of pure being.
Just covered up by noise.
Exactly. It's about letting go of that fictitious self, the story, and discovering the simple preciousness of being. That's your real specialness.
Not special compared to others.
No, not the ego's idea of specialness more than him or better than her. It's the inherent, unique miracle of your own existence, your own consciousness. And the source says you can only find it when they stop looking for themselves in the future through more.
Stop the seeking.
Stop the seeking in the external, in the future. Ironically, the world, with all its challenges, might just be perfectly designed to eventually push us into that realization, to drive us out of form identification and into the timeless now.
Okay, so, for everyone listening, here's a thought to carry with you this week, a provocative thought, perhaps. Consider, what is just one little doing in your day? Something really simple, maybe pouring that first cup of coffee, opening the fridge door, listening to the sound of cars passing outside, or feeling the water on your hands as you wash them.
Something you usually rush through.
Exactly. Can you choose, just for that one tiny action, to fully inhabit it with your conscious presence, not as a step towards something else, but as a complete experience in itself? A doorway into the now.
Feel the sensations. Notice the movement.
Yeah. How might that single act of complete, undivided attention change how you experience that specific moment? We challenge you. Find those little hidden exits from the stream of thought during your day and use them to glimpse and maybe truly know yourself as that underlying silent awareness where all of life happens.